Hello and welcome to the mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and this week we are going to be talking about Wingspan Oceania, the reviews or the reveals, I guess, that Jamey's been doing on the Facebook page. So let's go ahead and get right into that, shall we? September 30th, the first reveal, the first thing that Jamey started talking about was, oddly enough, the size of the box and the color of the eggs. Now, the box is significant because it's very obvious it wasn't going to be the same size as the European expansion, which meant, you know, different contents, but also because, that was pretty much why. It would have different contents. It's bigger. So we'll get into what some of those reveals are too, if you haven't seen it since then. The eggs themselves are yellow, and they're exactly the same as, you know, the purple and the color eggs in the core box. At one point in the design diaries, Jamey mentions that at one point they were, or maybe Elizabeth was, they kind of, you know, shared the responsibility for those, but at one point they had larger eggs, like emu eggs, but they couldn't find a gameplay reason for them to be there, so they scrapped that idea and we got just some more color eggs, and they don't mean anything in the game. They're just like the purple eggs. They're just for looks. No function, aside from points. The October 1st design diaries brought us news of new player mats, and I'm going to try and be very intentionally careful to not say new player mats, old player mats, because the original player mats are not being replaced. These are not replacement mats. They are it's just another mat that works with the new features of the Oceania expansion. So let's go ahead and take a look at this new board, shall we? One of the things that you may notice almost immediately is there's some additional iconography on the mats. In the forest in particular, you see an opportunity to re-roll the bird, the food tray dice tower. Even before it is, you know, only one type of food or empty, you can go ahead and pay a resource to replace that food if you so choose. The wetlands, the same thing. You actually see that you can pay eggs, and in addition to the eggs, there's a new icon there, which Jamey gets into tomorrow, October 2nd. But another thing that people said was the egg row is nerfed, and so I went ahead and took a look at it, and it is true that ultimately you can get less eggs, but it ends up falling more in line with the other rows, actually. So I actually looked at the original mat and the new mat, and found that, you know, if you're getting the full benefit and you're paying for all the bonuses, on the OG mat you can get 15 food and it would cost you 3 cards. In the new one, it's 18 food, which would cost you 4 cards. So there's an increase, but what you notice is right off the gate, there's some bonuses. So, you know, you can actually get more food early on, which I think is ultimately going to help people, because it's kind of difficult when you need to get some food at the beginning. Maybe you held on to some extra bird cards. And to get that food available to you, that's a really nice addition to that mat. In the wetlands, 15 cards on the OG mat would have cost 3 eggs, and now it's 18. You can get 18 cards, and it costs 4 eggs, or this other resource that Jamey will get into on October 2nd. The grasslands, where the eggs were supposedly nerfed, normally on the original mat, it was 21 eggs would cost you 3. No, I totally read that wrong. 21 eggs would cost you 3 food, and 19 eggs now cost 5 food and or cards. So it does take a little bit away from the whole just spam eggs, but that's something that people wanted gone anyway, and so I see a benefit there. So there are some folks who don't necessarily want a lot of new content or new complications. They just want new bird cards. And so even though Jamey hasn't revealed how many cards are in this expansion yet, Elizabeth drops us a little bit of a hint or an estimate in the design diary for this mat, because she says there are 17 cards in the expansion that require this new resource, which accounts for about 20% of the cards. So if you do the math, 20% there, 17 is 20%, then there's about 85 cards in the expansion. give or take a little bit, I suppose. So let's go ahead and get into October 2nd, and that is the new resource, which is Nectar. Now, thematically, I guess this makes a lot of sense because in the Oceania region or area of the world, nectar is a very important food resource for a lot of birds. If you're playing these Oceania birds, there's 17 of them that actually use this as a resource, but it also acts as a wild resource. Now, you got to be thinking, well, then why wouldn't I just get nectar every chance I get, and I don't have to pay, I have to worry about getting a rodent or a seed or, a berry. The thing about nectar is it's temporary, so you have to use it in that round or it goes away. Another cool thing that was added, though, is if you do use the nectar and you spend it, there's a place next to on the player board where you set there, and you set that used nectar there. And at the end of the game, there's bonuses for who has spent the most in, the forest, in, the grasslands and the wetlands. And so it's another end game scoring bonus in addition to just birds that need it. But also when you're playing a bird, you can use it as a wild resource. So, if you needed a grain and a seed, we'll say, and you had just a grain, you could use a grain and a nectar. What this does not do, however, is if you have a bird that says, pay a grain or pay a seed to cash a card, you can't use that nectar for that. It's specifically saying that bird needs a seed. So in that regard, that's a little bit of limiting of the nectar, but otherwise, how are you going to gain nectar? There's new wooden dice in the Oceania expansion. You actually can roll dice and earn nectar, or it shares spots, similar to the way we had seeded invertebrate on the original. We also have a way to get nectar on the dice, so that's super cool. That's all the reveals that Jamey's done so far, that and Elizabeth have done so far, but so far so good. I know that there's a little bit of consternation about some new iconography on the board. I think there was another thing in the wetlands. There's also the ability to pay resources to refresh the available birds on offer. So just some really cool new mechanisms that don't really, I guess, shake things up too much or unnecessarily complicate the core gameplay. And I am really excited to get this to the table and check this out. And I know there's still stuff coming because Jamey had said he's expecting the reveals to last 7 to 10 days, and we still have a lot of that time left. So there's more surprises in store. I am looking forward to what all of that means. The last bit of news I have for you this week is the annual Stonemaier Charity Auction ran on Board Game Geek the last few days and has completed it, and it was a massive success. If you saw the newsletter, what they were auctioning off was a advanced copy of Wingspan Oceania edition signed by Elizabeth Hargrave. There was also a full set of the Meeple Source Oceania meeples made available, and a copy of any game you wanted from the Stonemaier shop that was in stock. So a pretty good prize. Overall, they raised a total of $16,485, which is a new record. That's awesome. If you are unfamiliar with the charity auction, Jamey picks a few of his favorite media producers, whether they're taking pictures, running blogs, making videos, whatever it is, podcast. He's trying to draw attention to media creators that he enjoys, while also raising money for charities that they love, because they get to pick what charities that they are donating to, that you are contributing to. And then on top of it all, a company, a Kickstarter fulfillment company, Fulfillrite, also said that whatever the highest bid was, they would match it. And so it was just and also there was Jamey was paying for likes on the number one most liked image. If it got 100 likes, it was $100, something like that. In any event, a huge, massive success with $16,485 being raised for charity. That is super cool. That's all I had for you this week, but what have you guys been up to? Drop it in the post here in the comments. I've been playing a lot of Wingspan, actually, since that app became available on the PC. I've been playing that. Actually, yesterday I had my first 100-point game, which is super exciting. I've never done that before. and I didn't feel like I had like lucky cards up front, so it was just a naturally occurring game. I guess I feel like that's one of the things that I really like about these digital games. I guess I'm digressing, but in any case, is you can get, there's no setup. You just hop in, play the game. You can get game after game after game after game. Little dog, big ears, if you heard that. You can get many games in, and you start to get better the way, anything is with practice and experience. And so I really have been appreciating and enjoying having that available to me on the PC, and a little bit of side digital edition too on the iPad has been a lot of fun. But again, enough about me. What are you guys playing? Have you picked up either of those two titles? Are you enjoying it? Is it what you're hoping for? What else do you want to see besides that expansion content? I would like to know. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye. Come here. Oh. Yeah. Got some death breath going on.
Hi, Smokey.
Oh, there's a boy.
Look at you, so
there's a
handsome.
boy.